Meeting called to order. Roll call, please.
Councilman Quinn.
Here.
Councilman Foster. Councilman Harrell.
Yes.
Councilman Gann.
Here.
Councilman Hatmaker. Councilwoman Manis.
Here.
Mayor Burton.
Here. Do I hear a motion for the approval of the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussions? Man, you're right there.
He's on TV time, man. You just want TV time.
Just got in here. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. This evening, the prayer will be given by Councilwoman Manis. And please, before we have a prayer, I asked Vice Mayor Gann to read Lynn Murphy's obituary. Lynn was a long-time employee of the city. And certainly was a good man. Also, we want to remember the Baileys, Christian
And Carl.
and Carl Bailey.
Yeah, Carl lost his mom.
Lost his mom
past week.
last week, and please keep them in your prayers also.
A dedicated public servant, following high school graduation, Lynn began his career as 911 dispatcher for Anderson County Sheriff's Department, was the first 18-year-old to complete the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy in Donaldson. Thereafter, he served as patrol officer, supervisor, training officer, and detective. While a full-time deputy, Lynn became a volunteer firefighter for the city of Clinton, and in 1988 made a career change, becoming a Clinton firefighter and an emergency medical technician, reaching the rank of assistant chief. For many years, Lynn spent his vacation time serving as an adjunct instructor for the Tennessee Fire and Codes Academy, and was part of an East Tennessee instructor team recognized by then Governor Don Sundquist for teaching the first live burn firefighting class at the newly opened Tennessee Fire Service and Codes Enforcement Academy training facility in Bell Buckle. Lynn served as director of the City of Clinton Emergency 911 prior to becoming director of Public Works for the City of Clinton, where he worked tirelessly for 19 years. Lynn retired as director in 2018 after more than 40 years of service in local government. At the time of his death, Lynn was a local government consultant for the City of Clinton. If you will, please join me in a moment of silence.
Heavenly Father, we just come to you right now, and we do ask that you be with the Murphy family and the Bailey family as they walk through this time, and that you give them comfort and peace. And as we begin this meeting, grant us with wisdom, clarity, and patience. Help us to serve our community with integrity and fairness, and to seek what is best for our city. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Wendy. Do I hear a motion for the review and approval of minutes of the previous meeting dated December 19th, 2025, and also the January 26th, 2026? That meeting was canceled.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. At this time, we'll recognize any visitors and citizens that would like to speak. Please come to the podium and state your name and address. We would ask that you keep your comments 3 minutes or lower. Senior, please.
Okay. Well, I'm Delaney Davis, and I've been here before. Y'all know where I live on Fowler Street. Stop by and get some eggs. I've come tonight to talk.
Can you state your address, please?
1004
Thank you.
Fowler Street.
Thank you.
Tonight I've come to talk about some CUB issues, and I've prepared a little something, so I'll just read that. We all learn playing the game of Monopoly growing up why they're bad and how fast they leave you bankrupt. The board at CUB call themselves autonomous and answer to no one, not the public nor the city, despite having a member of city council on the board. They said it themselves at this month's meeting, they only write policy. They defer everything else to one singular man who has spent the last 48 years at that company, caring more about profits than the customers. I want to remind us all that our great city owns their charter and the land on which they do business. We deserve to be heard and to be represented on that board, and that hasn't been the case for over 2 decades. My question for you all here tonight is, are you for us or against us, and what are we going to do about it? That's all I prepared tonight. Look forward to hearing about it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Before we, go ahead, sir, yes. Please just state your name and address.
My name is Fred Richmond. My wife and my address, I live at 121 Glen Circle in Clinton, Anderson County, but I do own a business within the city limits, and that's why I'm here today. On the 9th, you all had some discussion about the vape and hemp shops, and some of it, I couldn't find the minutes online, and the video doesn't go up for like a month, so I really didn't know the meeting was happening and that discussion was going to happen. Apparently what the city is wanting to do is to limit the number of vape and hemp shops in the city limits, which I don't really have a problem with. I think there's quite a few right now. There are some clarifications that I would like made as to what they would like to do. Say I wanted to move my business. How would I go about that? Would I have to start at the bottom of the list again? I don't quite think that's fair since I'm in good standing with the law and with the city and state. But my name is Fred Richmond. My wife and I own Tennessee Vapor Factory in Clinton, and we have a store in Knoxville. I said I'd like to express my appreciation for allowing me to speak today and hope that I can bring some clarity to a few points being discussed. I said I am definitely for some of the limitations that y'all want to put per capita. You know, I think they said 3 stores per 10,000. That's what the Clinton paper article said. I don't think that's a bad idea. Here's one of the reasons that I don't think it's a bad idea. I think that it would hold these stores more responsible about breaking laws. It would keep them to the point where they had to be on their toes or they lose their position and cannot open again because somebody would be there waiting to take their place. There are a lot of stores that are owned by, I don't know how to properly word it, but there's some owners that don't really care about the laws. They're just there to make the money. I own a store that only deals with tobacco harm reduction. So what I'm looking for is I'm looking to get people off of combustible cigarettes. Royal College of Physicians in Britain has done a huge study, it's available online if you'd like to read it, that says vaping is 95% safer than combustible cigarettes. That's pretty good odds. So I would like to get all the people in Clinton that smoke to vape rather than smoke. I'm in the business for what I call tobacco harm reduction. I'm also a member of the Tennessee Smoke-Free Association, which is a statewide organization that helps with legislation in the state. And let me know if I'm running out of time.
You got about another minute.
Okay. We are all about tobacco harm reduction. When it comes to the hemp side of things, I was in that space initially, but I saw the direction that it was going, and it wasn't a good place. So I let my license expire, and I no longer deal in the hemp products anymore. I'm strictly vaping for nicotine, which is for tobacco harm reduction. There are some upcoming laws. Some laws took place January 1. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that. And then some are coming up. June 30th will be the last day for what they call a legacy license for the hemp dealers. The laws are going to get much more strict, and I think you're going to see a lot of those stores go away because they're not going to comply. They're not complying now, but I think there's going to be even worse. But if y'all have any questions for me, I've got some information that I can share. We can do it after, we can do it whenever. But one other thing, the 1,000 feet from a store is already a state law for hemp stores. I mean, from a school. So that's already a law in Tennessee. So you guys don't really need to pass anything like that because they can't get a or they can't get a hemp license if they're within 1,000 feet, unless they were there prior to the law. So they would be grandfathered in. But if you all have any questions for me, I would like some clarification that if an existing business were to want to move, the building I'm in is landlocked between the railroad and the state highway. If something happens to that building, the city is not gonna let my landlord rebuild. I would have to move then. What I don't want is to lose my position as a business in the city in good standing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know you're going to stick around.
I am gonna stick
There's some people here that you may want to talk to after the meeting. Shayla's there in the back, and also Wendy. They're part of ASAP, and that'd be a good conversation for you to have with them too.
Okay.
Between, if we pass the first reading tonight, it won't go official till the next reading following month.
I
So
have
you
one-
have the time in between that.
Yeah, I have one question for the board, if you
Sure.
don't mind. In the article that was in the Courier, y'all listed that there were 8 shops within the city limits. How come nobody reached out to those 8 shops to let them know there was discussion on the 9th?
I don't know if that's standard practice, we do that or
Okay.
not, to be honest with you.
Well, I mean,
In
if
fact,
you're
it's
gonna
going-
do
it's
something that
soon-
might affect
it's soon-
somebody's
It's soon
business-
going to be 9 coming in.
Okay.
But I don't know if large or small, we've ever done that.
Excuse me, the existing 8 businesses, this really doesn't affect them. I mean, nothing,
Well-
because they are grandfathered, they will stay the same until the zoning ordinance and the other ordinance that we'll bring before you next month, till they're passed. There's nothing, but once again, even once the zoning and the second ordinance that we'll be bringing on the license, once again, they're all grandfathered, and the grandfather goes with the business status. So as long as those 8 are there, we can't force them to go out.
Okay.
Now, as they start going out, then that's when that kicks in, the 3 per 10,000.
Do we have an answer for his question, though?
What
That's
happens?
If he had to relocate, what would happen there,
He would lose his license, yes.
Yeah.
based on what we're gonna talk
Yes,
about later?
because the grandfather status goes with the property, not the
Okay.
individual.
Yeah, so anytime you have to get a new business license, that's when you have to go back in line.
So there's no just transferring my business license
No.
to a new address?
Not as it's written today,
So
no.
I think that's very unfair and probably unconstitutional.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else before we get to our most exciting speaker tonight? Pew and Company. It's that time of year again. Come on, guys, I'm just giving you a hard time. 10 or 15 minutes would be fantastic.
Yeah, Gary Mitchell of Pew and Company. Good to see y'all again. As always, we always appreciate you all letting us be your auditors. And like always, I always like to extend my appreciation to Gail and Scott and also Paula for all the help that they give us as part of the audit. We couldn't get the audits done without them, and they do a good job and are great to work with. So the first thing I'm going to look at is the big, huge, thick book that you all got. This is the actual financial statements themselves for 2025. I'm just going to highlight a few key pages in here. I'm not going to obviously go through anywhere close to the whole thing. I'm going to start on page number 9. It's the page that has the Pew CPA's logo on it. This is our audit opinion on the financial statements. I always like to point this out because at the end of the day, this is what we're working towards. And at the very beginning there, it does state that, you know, in our opinion, the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. So that's a clean opinion. It's an unmodified opinion, which is what you want. So we are issuing a clean opinion on the financial statements again for this year. Flipping over to page number 17, this is the management discussion analysis section. I like to highlight this section because that's really about the only part in this financial statements that are comparative to kind of give you an idea of what last year looked like compared to what this year looks like. And it also provides a good overview of the financial statements for somebody that actually does not want to sit here and read the rest of the 200 odd pages of these financial statements. But from a high level perspective, in 25, you can see, and I'm looking just primarily at the governmental activities because that's the city and the schools. The column labeled business type activities, that's CUB. We don't audit CUB. There's another firm that audits CUB. So we audit the city and the schools. So look at the governmental activities, you'll see that the assets went up by about $6 million in 25 compared to 24. The vast majority of that has to do with some of the big projects you all had going on, the streetscapes and the JC Park. So you guys were adding a lot of new capital assets in 25. And then looking further down, you'll see liabilities were kind of flat from 24 to 25. You all are paying down your debt. I know you all are very aware of that fact. I think the reason why the liabilities went up was just because there was a lot of construction-related costs that had to do with those projects. So it made the liabilities flat for this year, but I anticipate that going down in future years. And then the bottom line there, net position, which is basically the equity of the city, went up by approximately $4 million for the year. 2 million of it was unrestricted, and then about 3 million of it went to your net investment capital assets, because again, most of the increase in the year has to do with capital assets. And then flipping past that to the next page, you'll get an overview of kind of the income and expenses for the year for the governmental activities. You'll see total revenues of $30.0 million, almost exactly $1 million more than the prior year of $29 million. That's largely going to be, that increase is largely due to the capital grants that you all got to fund some of those capital projects in the current year. So, and then looking below that, expenses, you'll see total expenses of $26.7 million, which is again about $1 million more than the prior year, but essentially fairly flat compared to the prior year. And then the result is a very healthy $4.7 million increase in net position for the current year, which is similar to the increase last year as well. So overall, good results for the city and the schools combined. And again, that is on the full accrual basis, whereas you all budget on the modified accrual basis. So this includes stuff like capital assets and debt that you all don't usually think about when it comes to budgeting. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But if you'll flip over to page 26, this is the balance sheet for all the governmental funds. So this does take off those debt and capital assets, and it's a little bit more of a budgetary basis. It kind of gives you an idea of what you got to actually spend and the liabilities associated with that. The main thing I will point out here, assets minus liabilities, for the general fund being the most important fund for the city, you'll see that the ending unassigned net position, or I'm sorry, fund balance, which is basically the funds that you all have to spend that's not encumbered for a specific purpose, is about $7 million. So that's down about $1.5 million for the prior year, but it still represents about 39% of typical expenditures in a year. So you're looking at about 4 months or so there. So that's still a very healthy fund balance that you all have to work with. MTAS and GFOA, which are kind of some of the governing bodies that put out good policy in this area, recommend having at least 2 months. So you all are about double that amount. So again, very healthy fund balance to use. And then looking at the budget, if you'll flip over to page 30, this is the budget for the general fund compared to the actual expenses for the year. In total revenues for budget revenues were 15.8, actual revenues were 16.4, so that's a positive variance of 571,000 for the year. So that's a good over budget amount. And then below that, total expenditures for the year budgeted were 17.5 and actual was 17.8. So we actually went over budget by about 360,000 for the general fund for 2025. That's almost entirely driven by that increase in capital outlay line there, because y'all had a lot of projects going on during that time frame. That over budgeting for the general fund did cause us to have an audit finding for the current year, because technically the city's charter does require you all at the fund level to not exceed expenditures. And so that's the one and only finding that we had for our audit for this year. And so if you'll flip back to the back, almost the very back of this report, it's page 175 is where we get into the audit findings. You'll see that there's only one there listed on 175. It's titled 2025-001 budgeting. And again, that just has to do with the fact that the general fund did exceed its budget by 360,000 during the year. And then the drug fund actually exceeded its budget too by a little less than $5,000, so fairly small amount there. But both of those are required to be written up as audit findings based on guidance we get from the comptroller's office. So that's why those are listed in there. Our recommendation is just that management needs to closely monitor expenses compared to budget on a regular basis and making sure they bring you all timely amendments as necessary to make sure you stay in budget by the end of the year. And after this page, you'll see there is a summary of the prior year audit findings, which actually we did have a budgeting issue last year as well with the drug fund, so that was still listed as repeated. However, our other prior year audit issue was corrected in the current year. And then the last page of this entire report, 177, that's management's corrective action plan about how they're planning on correcting the budgeting issue going forward. So any questions about the audit report and or the findings from the audit? I have one more letter to go over as well, but I just wanted to pause there in case anybody had any questions on that.
Any questions?
I have a couple. Not an accountant, and there's a lot of documentation here, a lot of terminology. Somebody asked me at the grocery store, what kind of financial shape is the city of Clinton in? What do I tell them?
Like I mentioned during the discussion about the fund balance, I mean, you still have a very healthy fund balance, a very healthy reserve that enables you all to be able to, tackle any kind of projects that come up there in the future. So, that's a good thing. The debt, I know you all like to always talk about the debt. You all are on track to virtually pay off all of your debt during fiscal year 2026. You'll only have one very small loan outstanding after that. So you have a lot of financial flexibility. So I'd say that the status of the city is very strong.
Nothing we need to be concerned about as a board.
The primary thing that I think that I would focus on going forward is in 2025, the city set up a self-insurance fund that is new to self-insure healthcare costs. That fund ended up finishing the year with a deficit of about $260,000, mainly because of the timing of claims and claims liabilities being a little bit higher than anticipated. So I would just that would be one of the things I'd focus on going forward, is making sure that claims are kept in check and that you're charging adequate premiums to fund that self-insurance fund.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
All right, and then the other document that you all had is the small little stapled one there. That is that's our required communication letter to City Council. Again, just going to briefly hit a couple of things in here on page 1, which you may have flipped a couple pages over to that. Just a couple of highlights. We do have in there a little section about accounting policies and practices, and I would just highlight that during 2025 there was one new significant accounting policy that was adopted, which has to do with compensated absences, which did increase certain liabilities in the financial statements by about $500,000, because we have to now account for the value of all the accrued vacation time that are promised to employees. So that did increase liabilities by a little bit. And then on page 2, audit adjustments and uncorrected misstatements, we had one very small audit adjustment in the current year for about $35,000 for a grant revenue and receivable that needed to be accrued. And then we do have a uncorrected misstatement that we've had for a few years pertaining to, just for simplicity's sake, not recognizing some very immaterial lease assets and liabilities on the books that have very short contractual lives. So that is listed in there for your information as well. And then there's some observations about the audit process. Mainly, it boils down to, we did not have any significant disagreements with management. We get along very well with Gail and Scott, and they do a fantastic job. And so the audit was very smooth from that standpoint. And then flipping over a couple pages on number 4, significant accounting estimates. This is in here every year. Actually, I'll highlight on page 5. The very last one on here, the self-insurance healthcare liability, that is new this year, and that goes back to what I just said, and that is you all now have a self-insurance fund. Part of that self-insurance fund is to accrue a liability at year end for the amount of claims that are outstanding for that fund. So that's a new estimate that is in the financial statement starting in 2025. So that was the last thing I was going to highlight in there. So I'm welcome to take any other questions, but other than that, we do appreciate your time.
Any other questions? So I think Councilman Harrell already kind of said this, but is there anything that we should be concerned about or keep an eye on, or?
Yeah, so the self-insurance fund is one. Obviously, you all are in a transition time frame for the finance director. Yeah, we're thrilled to see Paula back again because we've worked with her in the past, and so just, you know, making sure that that's a smooth transition is always important, making sure that there's no segregation of duties issues that occur because of anything like that, so.
Great. Great. Anything else, guys? Ladies? Thank you.
All right, thanks again.
We want to thank Gail for coming back and doing what you do, and Paula, and I know you're going to do a great job moving forward, and I want to even thank Chris for the time he was here the first part of the year. Real good job. I certainly appreciate it. We don't thank you all enough. Don't want to thank you too much, Paula. Get big-headed. All right, well, let me look and see what we got going on. I just wanted to talk. Is that all? Anybody else would like to speak? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay. I don't have any communications from the mayor. Committee reports, city school board report. Ms. Johnson?
Good evening. A couple of Clinton City schools reports or updates. First of all, I have to give kudos to Scott Ray. As always, he does a wonderful job of managing our finances for the city school system, and we're proud of the audit and proud of the fiscally conservative ship that he runs. He has asked for 15 minutes of your all's time today so he could go over all the financials for Clinton City Schools. So I hope you all are okay with that.
We're going to put we'll put him right after adjournment. Yeah. Put him right after that.
He always gets excited over his thick book, and he'll take that home tonight.
This is Christmas
and look
every
it over.
year.
Oh, it's Christmas. He's so excited. But no, I do come with you with a request tonight. Lori Wilson has been on. She served as a representative of the South Clinton ward on the school board for the past several years, and she purchased a new home in Mariner Point and has moved out of that ward, which has left a vacancy during the middle of a term, which obviously that comes back to you for an appointment. As you know, we have a great relationship with City Council and School Board, and part of our school success is that we all are on the same page. We all fight hard for kids, and we all try to run a very fiscally conservative ship while keeping our kids at the forefront. I'm coming to you today asking for your consideration to appoint Zach Farah into that position with the intention of him running for the seat in the next election. Zach's two children went through Clinton City Schools. As you all know, Zach has served on City Council for 8 years. So his children are alumni of our school system. His wife is an alumni of our school system. And when his children graduated, Zach did not go away. Zach still has come back and spoken at several of our veterans ceremonies at Clinton Elementary School. He has consistently been an instructor for junior achievement in our classrooms at both Clinton Elementary and South Clinton Elementary. And he comes every single year and speaks very candidly to our sixth graders about the importance of making good life choices and how that affects you in your future years. And so his hands are still very much a part of Clinton City Schools. He has always been a sincere advocate for us, but as you know from his work on City Council, he doesn't care to push. He doesn't care to ask questions, but he leads in a very ethical, genuine manner. And so I come to you today requesting for you all to approve that appointment. And Zach is in the audience today, and he said he's willing to come up and answer any questions or give any information that you may need.
Here, motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Zach, is there anything you want to say?
No, I'm just humbled by that. That was kind of
Glad you're back, man.
Yeah.
Glad you're back.
Yeah, you're a good man, and I know you wouldn't do this if you weren't going to give it 100%. I know you'll do that, so I'm glad you're back too. So let's do a roll call on this.
Councilman Quinter,
Yes.
Councilman Foster.
Yes.
Councilman Harrell.
Yes.
Councilman Gann.
Yes.
Councilwoman Manis.
Yes.
Mayor Burton.
Yes. Unanimous. Congratulations.
What would that term be?
And that concludes my report.
Term
Thank you
ends,
very much.
It'd be November, it'd be
Would it be effective immediately?
it'd be effective immediately through, it'd be November 30th, wouldn't it? No, yeah, it'd be November 30th, yeah.
Okay, thank you
Okay.
very much.
Any questions for Kelly?
Congratulations, Jack.
Is Scott going to speak?
No, he's really not.
He's on that.
We
he's-
don't have a budget amendment tonight.
He's
so
on that
you're
sugar.
off the
He's
hook.
on that sugar high right now. All right, Clinton Utilities Board, Councilman Harrell.
Yes, I think Roger forwarded everyone an email about the storm and all the things that CUB proactively did. One thing I wanted to point out was, again, the innovations of CUB, the Flizzer system, and I'll just read this. At 4 a.m. Sunday, TVA experienced the loss of a 161 kilovolt transmission line that provides service to Oliver Springs and Coalfield, affecting 4,211 customers. In less than 2 minutes, including 1 minute for waiting for TVA's automated restoration attempts, the Flizzer system restored service to 3,009 of the 4,211 affected customers without human intervention, and most importantly, without having to pull CUB crews from other locations where they're already serving and repairing storm damage. So again, to stress the innovation of the system. The last meeting, CUB had their audit and everything came back really good. So any questions
Any questions for Councilman Harrell?
for me?
I do want to thank, while we're talking about it, I know CUB sent, I think, 6 cruise trucks down to, I guess, around Columbia during the storm. We did get a hit, just a percentage of what they got. And a lot of just debris and a lot of things that need to be fixed. Also, I want to thank Dwayne. I know you sent a team. I think there were some firemen that went down with them too. I don't know who else, but and Cecil. I mean, that just it shows a lot about, number one, our community, but number two, that we're in the position to be able to do that. And there's just not a lot of communities that can do it, especially our size.
Robert, can I ask you a question? Is there some reason CUB don't use the same audit firm that we use? Why I think the schools we're all using the same one except for CUB. Is there a
I don't know a reason. I can ask
Can
that.
we ask why
Sure.
CUB doesn't use, that we're not all on the same team here, let's all use the same firm?
I'll ask, I know they've used the same person or the same group for many, many years.
I think that's it. I think it's when Kelly came on and we just try to align because it really reduced our costs.
Probably
especially
save us
more-
probably save all of us some money.
Yeah, some money. From a cost standpoint, and to your point, I think that's CUB's response. They worked with them so long, had a good relationship.
But I'll bring it up at the
Could you
next
just,
meeting.
could you
to
just
see-
say, I'm not
Sure.
asking them to change, I'd just like
Yeah.
to know why they're not on board with us, and that way all 3 of us would all be with the same firm. We get a report from everybody
Yeah,
about
I'll be
everything.
glad to ask that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob. Catherine?
Good evening. I'm going to be short and sweet. I left you guys an annual report for 2025, all the things that Historic Downtown Clinton did this year, from city support with construction to business support to community outreach, grants, all of the things. So I hope you'll take some time to read through it and really kind of delve into our organization as a nonprofit. You'll also see a budget report in there that shows a graph on how we accept money and what we spend money on, so that we're transparent in all of that and what we're doing. There, you'll also see a 2026 Board of Directors information in there, as well as our 2025 financial report. That's it for me.
Any questions
We're
for
excited
Catherine?
about 2026. We're really excited about construction getting done and moving forward with some of our events. We have some exciting things ahead, so.
Since we have the courier here and we're on TV, and there's one thing that I'd like for you to address it a little bit, is, we get just random people just say, man, I know that, the businesses down there are devastated, they're going out of business and losing money and stuff. We kind of address that, one-on-one with people, but can you address it to this group?
Yeah, I will not stand up here and say it's been an easy year for businesses. It certainly hasn't, and I don't think any of them went into it. Roberta's here, she's a business owner, thinking it would be easy. However, to my knowledge, no businesses have closed due to construction this year, and I will take that as a win all day long. We've tried to communicate and work really hard with our businesses in the downtown. We've heard, the good, the bad, and the ugly. There are some that are still thriving and doing really well. We're getting through it, I guess, is what I would say. We worked together, made the decision to close Market Street together. That was, you know, something that the businesses at the time said, you know, we're already seeing the impacts of construction. We want this to move faster through. So we did that. You know, of course there's delays. Of course there's disappointments. You know, of course there's things happening. But again, you know, to my knowledge, no businesses have actually closed their doors. And that's what we want. And, you know, and I think, you know, we maintained through construction. I'm not going to steal their thunder, but we have some really exciting businesses that are going to open in 2026 to really fill our shops, and they're excited about what construction will do for our downtown. So I'm excited to see where we go this year.
No. And you know, the tough part's done. It's everything underground is pretty much done. And I think they're gonna start putting out landscaping and plants in a few weeks, and
Next month.
you know, they're gonna finish pouring the sidewalks hopefully very soon. We get a couple of good weeks of weather like we had last 2 weeks. You're gonna see a lot of things.
Yeah.
What'd you
Get
say,
done.
Roger, we're 72% complete up there?
Yes, as of last week progress meeting, we're 72% complete on the project.
It's great.
On the downhill side of this thing.
Shoot,
Yeah.
yeah. With the tough part's over. It really is.
Bill's done a good job.
Among others. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Shayla, I know usually we ask you if you want to speak. You might want to do that when we do the ordinance, and maybe talk a little bit more around that, unless you have something else you want to talk about. Okay. Okay, great. General Government Report, Mr. Houck.
Thank you, Mayor. As requested in December by council, Clinton Utility Board, the City Charter Article 9 grants authority to acquire, construct, operate, own, or lease public utilities. CUB is established by Title 18, Chapter 1 of the Municipal Code by ordinance which outlines operational guidelines. City Council may modify this ordinance at any time. Any charter level change to the public utility requires ordinance initiation and a final approval by a public referendum.
Appreciate you doing that, Roger. That's good, a little good information to have in the toolbox.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Citywide asphalt, as you remember, I guess it's 4 years ago, we agreed to participate in the Knoxville TPO asphalt, where they actually come in with some scientific equipment on a truck and actually survey our roads, and it's kind of a way that we can gauge what kind of condition our streets are in. They initially did it 4 years ago. They came back this fall and redid all 71 miles of our streets. I've included the actual study in your packet, but just some highlights on it. Once again, it was participating in the regional pavement study with Knoxville TPO to assess and prioritize street conditions. They use automatic survey equipment and software for condition analysis. Latest survey identified 16.41 miles of streets with PCI of 55 or below, which means they're either in poor or very poor condition. A couple of them were actually in serious condition. I think there were just a few streets. These streets will be prioritized for near-term maintenance and resurfacing and funding allowed. So what staff and I have kind of talked about we'd like to do, of course, we've got some paving downtown that we've got to do along with the TAP grant. And also, I know we've talked for a couple of years now that we want to do the walking trails and some of the areas in the park that's been, Councilman Queener was talking that I think it's been close to 40 years before the asphalt at the walking trail at J.C. Park has been done. South Clinton was done in 1989, and Lakefront, which is the newest one, which may be the worst one in shape-wise, was done in 2008. So we're putting some packets together on that, but what we want to do on this street paving is actually do a 3-year plan, which we've been doing this, I think, since 2015. That was the first time we started paving back, but paving really hadn't been done in the city in almost 20 years, so we got way behind. So in 2015, which you're all's blessing, we started paving some streets. We've paved, I think, all of Westwood. We've paved some Mariner Point Drive, South Clinton. 2 years ago, we did $800,000 for the Industrial Parkway. So I think we did about $7 million in the last 10 years in paving. So we still got some more to go to catch up, and that's one thing we've talked about this year is starting actually a budget line item. We've been, I think, about $150,000 each year that we've put back in the capital for paving and kind of let it build up, then we would pave. I think this would be the time that we could actually put some money in the budget for annual paving that we don't do, and I'm talking quite a bit. You know, these 16 miles would probably be close to $4.5 million to pave them.
But if it's a line item in the budget, we're always paving every year, so we don't get in these jams.
Yeah,
in
like I
the
said,
future.
that's when we got behind because for 20 years we didn't do any paving. And now we're slowly catching up, but this study's good for staff to be able to prioritize. It kind of takes a little bit of the politics out of it. Somebody wanting their street paved that's in pretty good shape.
But I want to, I mean, this is a really cool tool, because, you know, in the past, we would just, it'd be a certain number of years, every 15 years, so we'd just repave those roads. But we have the analysis that shows, for example, that the house where I live, there's not a lot of houses there. There's probably not 100 cars a day go by. It's a 24-year-old road, and it's still in real good shape. But it's kind of funny how roads are age differently than other roads. And I was going to give him a hard time. Riverbend, I mean, there's just something about that 500 block around that area that maybe it's close to the river or it's whatever it is, but it needs to be changed more often than other areas. But so this tool, I don't know, I think it's pretty minimal what the cost is, has really made us be a lot smarter in regards to paving our roads.
Did you do assessment of our parking lots also, or just the roadways?
Just the roadways, yes.
Okay.
Roger.
Do we have a plan for the parking lots?
We want to, yes, we
that?
want to do some of them. Of course, some of the Commerce Street, Cullum Street, some of Main got outside the scope of the project due to water and sewer having to be relocated. So we're working with CUB. We'll get those paved along when we pave the rest of the roads for the grant. And then definitely we want to come back, like I said, look at the walking trails and the critical ones, and possibly even a few of the downtown parking lots this year. That way we've kind of got downtown back together and everything looking good. Then, like I said, put this 3-year plan together to tackle some of these other streets. Probably, once again, probably the ones that are severe, that's on here, they're very minimum and not that big. We can probably go ahead and do them this year too.
Roger, I'll just piggyback on that. The mayor graciously appointed me to the TPO as Clinton City representative. This is an unbelievable program that they put out there. I mean, it uses laser technology and all kinds of things that are far beyond my comprehension, but they can tell you tremendous amount of information about the road conditions. And I'm just amazed that other cities don't take advantage of it. We're one, I think there's only 4 or 5 cities in our area that are using this, believe it or not. And this is a fantastic tool that we're participating in.
When's the last time we've paved the parking lots? Actually, I'm trying to remember, I know we paved around the courthouse and done some, how long ago's it been, Bill? Well, that's what I'm saying, we're not just talking about things that we just do repeatedly. We get pretty good service out of it.
I've been here 39 years. I know we have resealed the Commerce Street parking lot, but I don't think it's ever been repaved since I've been here. You know, you take that and
You think it
vacuum.
doesn't get the wear and tear of a regular road, I wouldn't think.
It doesn't.
No,
but
no,
it
no.
Still
Yeah, it
needs to be.
No, but
still-
like South Clinton Gym, that one has significant erosion and holes all throughout.
Yeah, there needs to be
It's
some
been a while.
work done at our parks and things like that.
T-Dot come back and pave Main Street, won't they? They won't?
No, nope, it's part of ours.
Maybe CUB take care of that. We should work on it.
Put that on my list.
Put that
Thank
on
you,
your
Roger.
list, Robbie.
Go ahead, Roger. Thank you.
Current projects, our TAP grant downtown, just kind of a brief where we're going. Like I said, we're at 72% right now. They started, I guess it's been about 2.5, 3 weeks ago with the sidewalk steps and putting all them back in. It's been a little bit slower due to the winter storms we had. I think there was 10 or 12 days there in mid-January they didn't get much work done. We had the different storms and cold weather come through. But once again, we're about 72% complete with the project. Within the next month, they'll continue with the sidewalks on Market Street, the crosswalk signal. There'll be 3 crosswalks, one on each end and one in the middle. They'll be installing them. The biggest thing that's been the holdup here that they finished last week, there's 38 light poles, new light poles go in that they had to actually drill about 4-foot bases. So they've got all of them done. And they'll start repouring those. Landscaping, as the mayor said, is scheduled sometime around mid-March to start the planning, and they're actually 226 trees and plants that will go in that area. The alleyway, once again, the light pole bases have been done, so they'll get those poured, and they hope to start on the sidewalks in the alleyway within the next month. Main Street, they're working on, Main and Broad, they're working on the sewer laterals that CUB had them come back and actually tie in with new pipes instead of the current in place. So that's the work going on now. They've got 38 of those. So once they finish up Broad, Main Street will be closed a block at a time again to hook these laterals up.
That's what's holding the sidewalks, the little
Yes.
cutouts, okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of where we're headed the next few months on the TAP grant. The old Armory daycare grant, I did a walkthrough a week and a half ago there. They're probably closer to 80% done, and they're projected to be completely finished by the 1st of May. And so that project's moving real good. We've been working, Kelly and I have been working with the Boys and Girls Club, Andy Wallace with ACETA, trying to put some numbers together so we can actually go out, or they can actually go out to the industries. I think we kind of know what ours is going to look like, but now they need to go out to the industries and offer this workforce child care that we hopefully works for retention and recruitment. Mariner Point, South Charles G. Seaver traffic signal. Latest update, sometime between mid-March, the end of the March, the cabinet should be in. So we're probably looking at 3 to 4 weeks, and I think everything else is pretty much ready to go on that. Questions?
Any questions for Roger?
I do have a question. Roger, I know there's been a lot of questions about the sidewalks and like the phases that they have to happen. Do you mind explaining to us like how that all works?
Well, there's, of course, the upper area where some of the steps are required. And remember, this project, 2 phases is probably, one was CUB and the underground utilities, which has took quite a while because literally we were digging up stuff that hadn't been dug up in 80, 90 years. So there's been a lot of change orders, a lot of order changes out in the field that we've had to make. So that has definitely slowed us down. But with concrete coming back, that's kind of the city's part of it. And there is if you go up there and look at it, you'll see some actually trenches in it, in what they've poured already. And that's because there's actually 3 different concretes and 3 different pours they had to make. First was the steps, which is the red terracotta looking steps, and they're that color to help identify them as a step. So that was done on most of the businesses that required that first. Then they came back with just the regular concrete pour, and that's what they've been working on the last 2 weeks. The third pour, and all of these have to be done separate, is actually a decorative concrete that actually shows the like pea gravel through it, so it'll have a decorative feature to it. So that's why you'll see one part done, and they come back and do the second part, then they'll come back and do the third part, which is the different pours. Does that answer it?
Mm-hmm.
You gonna do anything else?
Oh, I've got plenty.
Okay. You're looking at me, I thought I'm not.
Is that schedule still, what's the date? Would we adjusted that date time for completion for the project?
Right now, we're still at June or July 26th. They have asked for an extension, but we're negotiating what that extension may be. Majority of the work on Market, we have talked several times about this, will be done, if not almost all of it, by mid-June, early June.
But again, I kind of go back to building a house. Those are the little things you have to, complete to get into a house. It's not, the big stuff is going to be done probably before June, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was saying, yeah.
Of course, the last biggest thing would be going back and paving the roads.
And they're proposing that mid-May.
Okay, so I just didn't want everybody to freak out. It's like, it's going to be, well, it might be the total completion, but it's going to be 95% probably.
Well, we're 72 now, so yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot further along visually than what people think.
Yes. General government, in accordance with the previously approved practice of the council, I respectfully request authorization to file for various grant funds through the state and federal government and other agencies as appropriate as we become aware of these funds.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you, Mayor. Finance, I'll defer to Paula.
All right, thank you, Roger. As you can see from your packets, our local option sales tax came in at $571,752 this month, which was about 9.8% higher than we seen last year, so that was great for us. Our 2025 property tax collection year is actually coming to a close. We're at about a 42% collection rate, but we do anticipate to see some good revenue coming in this week as it closes. Capital outlay, our expenditures are in line. You will see our public safety and community developments are a little high. You know, obviously that's because of our projects that we have going on with the armory and the streetscapes. So with that being said, we are going to propose budget amendment number 2 that's in your packets. We will be increasing our expenditures by $2,504.04. From that, $1,279,222 will come from grant revenue, and $1,177,813 will come from our assigned capital projects budget, and then $47,371 will come from the unassigned fund balance. And then we will also be doing a budget amendment for the drug fund. We will be increasing our expenditures for $13,500. $6,250 of that came from reserved funds in the drug fund. $5,100 of that was unassigned fund balance from the drug fund, and only $2,150 was transferred from the general fund of the city.
You want to go ahead and take care of those now? Why don't you go just do the first one again about the
budget amendment?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll be increasing our expenditures by $2,504,504. $2,504,546.
Okay. Hear a motion to
So
approve
moved.
budget amendment number 2.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Any further discussion? I do just want to make a point on that. So, and that's a big number, but again, it's a number that we planned for the most part. We got the grant monies, a little bit over $1 million. Capital projects we planned for was
Correct.
put there for that purpose. The only thing that came out of the unassigned was the $300,000 that made up the difference. Am I right there?
The unassigned fund balance, the only thing that
Unassigned.
came out was the
Right.
$47,000.
47,000,
Yes,
thank you.
yes.
It's 47,000.
Yes.
So it's a big piece there, but we had planned for everything except for that 40,000.
Yes.
So that was a good job. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Quinn.
Yes.
Councilman Foster.
Yes.
Councilman Harrell.
Yes.
Councilman Gann.
Yes.
Councilwoman Manis.
Yes.
Mayor Burton.
Yes, budget amendment number 2 passes. You gonna do the next one now?
Okay. So the second one is to increase the revenues for the drug fund by $13,500, of which of that $6,250 will come from reserved fund balance, $5,100 from unassigned fund balance in the drug fund, and the remainder will come from transferred from the general fund of $2,150.
Okay. Motion to approve?
I'm gonna make a motion to approve, but I have a question after it
Okay.
passes.
Okay, motion?
Second.
Motion and second, discussion?
Gail, what's the problem with the drug fund? I worked at the police department for a long time and took care of the drug fund, and I don't ever remember this problem. So Paula, who can answer that over there can answer that. What's
As
the
far as
problem?
the audit findings, you're saying?
Anything. I mean, why are we having to go back and add money?
Well, so this purchase for the drug fund was for the new canine that they purchased, and they had received donations to purchase that. So the only thing the city covered on that was $2,150.
So we're just covering up what donations didn't replace, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
and so because that wasn't in the original budget, that would show us overexpended, so we had to
Okay,
do a
that
budget
answers my
amendment.
question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. Any other discussion?
What's the cause? So that's the repeat offender twice for going over budget. Is that correct? So what's the general cause for that? Because we're
Well-
raising it.
Well, comptroller, by June 30th, you all have to have an amended budget. And you did amended budgets, but it wasn't enough. And so, when we do a budget amendment, we have to look out into the future for a couple of months and bring it to you all prior to June 30th, and that wasn't done. And as such, an audit finding. So we Paul and I are working really hard to do that, and ultimately, that's a function in May and June of the finance department to, you know, to really look in the future and do our best guess at what is coming forward, and it just wasn't done, both in the general fund and in the drug fund last year. It just wasn't anticipated.
So this projected increase, would that cover, we wouldn't expect this to happen 3 years in a row? Is that fair to say, or?
I don't expect it to happen, no, and I'm sure Paula feels the same way. It's, you know, part of our job is to look at that and to be sure to project adequately to cover it. And we will try our best to be sure. I mean, nobody can guarantee that,
Right.
you know, something, and in the general fund last year, a lot of it was the projects. But we should have anticipated those projects and their expenditures through June 30th, and that wasn't done.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Do roll call.
Do roll call, please.
Councilman Queener?
Yes.
Councilman Foster?
Yes.
Councilman Harrell?
Yes.
Councilman Gann?
Yes.
Councilwoman Manis?
Yes.
And Mayor Burton.
Yes. Motion passes. Any questions for Paula?
Yes, the auditor mentioned that our debt service is about done. When is the timeline on that?
I think you said.
We make most of our payments for principal are due in April. And so the April timeframe, I think we have a small interest payment maybe in May. And then everything will be paid off except we have one school note that continues on through 2029 maybe. Of course, they reimburse us for that.
They're paying for that.
Yes.
How much will that free up for the budgetary process by not having the debt service next year?
I think this current budget, you probably have about 1.2 to 1.3 budgeted for debt service. Now, I'd have to look if that's in total or if that's, you know, we budget for the expenditure and we budget the money for the schools coming in separately. So if we may not have a complete offset of that, I'd have to look and see.
But close to 1.2 million probably.
That may be total debt service, so that would not free up that much because the revenue side for the school goes away too. So I can get you that number
But it sounds like we found some money for paving.
for paving and a lot of other things that our assigned fund balance for projects in general that we have used consistently for several years to do all these projects is gonna be zero at the end of this year. You will not have any assigned money for capital projects. So anything that you all anticipate doing where you've had that funding to fall back on, there won't be that funding. So that's a big deal.
I think probably what we need to do, as I talked, we want to do a 3-year plan for the paving, which I think is a good idea. That's where we've done several things. Not try to bite it all off at once. But we've got several other capital projects that you've heard me mention, but I think we probably need to actually come up with we do a capital budget every year. It's more of a wish list that the department heads turn in, and we do them as funds are available if they're realistic. But I think we've got some projects that we probably need to put in a little different capital outlay this year along with the paving. We got some drainage problems downtown that I've made you all aware of that's kind of got pushed to the side that we just ain't had time with other projects. We've got some renovations, more renovations at the community center that I want to look at some alternatives to some of them that JB has already priced. That's well over $500,000. So I mean, we got several things that we need to look at over the next 3 to 5 years, planning forward. And we'll try to provide, maybe by the April meeting, we'll turn the budget in May 1st. We'll try to get that capital plan a little more detailed, some of the stuff that we know we've got to do.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
One more.
Yep.
Police Department has declared the following vehicle as surplus due to age, mileage, and repair. It's a 2009 Ford Crown Vic. We would request authorization to declare this vehicle as surplus and transfer it to the Anderson County School Systems for the use by the Clinton High School criminal justice class.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Any questions for Roger?
Roger had one, got the email about the bill trying to turn city elections into
Yes.
Democrat versus Republican versus independent. I think we're against that because, you know, we get things done. It doesn't matter if you're a D or an R. What's the status of that bill?
It was supposed to be in committee late last week. I have not seen anything yet. Some of us are actually going down to the TML, Tennessee Municipal League Legislative Conference, next Monday and Tuesday, so we'll get a little better feel. I did speak to Representative Scarborough about it, told him that that was something that felt like we were not interested in supporting. Most cities have come out and against it. One, it's against our charter, and I think our charter is a very good document. And once again, it actually, and we talked about it. If this law passed, I don't know how we would handle that because it'd be a conflict between state law and charter. And I think state law, general state law would override our charter, but I don't know how we fix our charter to be in line with state law. I guess, so there's several issues there. And then, of course, the other one I sent you was allowing accessory unit dwellings on properties where you could have actually multiple dwellings on one piece of property. And that could really, and that takes away a lot of the authority of local planning commissions, does away with setbacks. So you could actually build an accessory building right on your property line. And I don't know that the entire reasoning for that one, but that would be one I think we would oppose too.
Thank you.
That would be a nightmare. It really would.
It would be.
From a service standpoint. No. Any other questions?
On property tax, you said we received roughly 46% of revenue. What does that look like compared to last year? Like,
I don't have that data in front of me, but we can get that for you guys.
didn't know if it was, theoretically, it wasn't supposed to change, right? But
Yeah, and we normally, like, we see a really high, like, influx at, like, end of December or whatever. And then the other majority of them we see kind of this last week. So we do anticipate that to go up, and I can have that for you by next meeting where we're at.
yeah, thank you.
Anything else? Thanks, Roger. Under ordinances and resolutions, first reading of new ordinances. This is ordinance number 703, amending ordinance number 680, zoning code of the city of Clinton, Tennessee, by adding a new section 2.21, specialty shops, vape shops, and similar uses. Let me go ahead and get a motion on that.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Shayla, would you like to speak on that? Just highlight and.
So yeah, just a few things, and I will give you all this information and then also talk a little bit about the ordinance and what we're hoping to accomplish with this. So the article mentioned earlier is from 2015, and so that is a little bit of an outdated study from what we are currently going off on the prevention side for cessation and tobacco and nicotine. So less harmful doesn't actually always equal doesn't equal harmless. We know from a lot of the recent research that chemicals including nickel, tin, formaldehyde, and aerosol are present in these devices, and so this is one of the larger reasons why we try to prevent this, especially with our youth. Vaping does lead to severe lung disease, asthma, heart disease, and stroke, and does present risk with second and third hand smoke with individuals who may be around that. It is highly addictive. We often talk with our youth about this when we go in and do youth presentations. But the average vape contains 60 cigarettes worth of nicotine, but can contain up to 600, depending on the popular brands that some of our students or adults might be using. So some of this does actually, which was a much larger conversation, but does actually chemically change things in your brain when folks do use this, and it is not an FDA-approved step-down tool or approved cessation tool. Our goal with the density ordinance is not for our current vape store owners. We appreciate those that stay in compliance and do what they're supposed to do and follow the law. We will be distributing our alcohol and tobacco retail packets like we always do. So that distribution will happen in April, so they can be expecting those updated ID checkers and guides and information on state law that gets passed that we will distribute to them in April. This will increase accountability for our stores. As you all are aware, and also just making sure that the stores that we do have are not selling to our underage youth. That has been bigger issue. We've had 2 through Clinton Police Department that have been cited, and we continue to hear reports from our youth about stores specifically that they can go to that will sell to them underage. And so what we do know through that is that the more stores that we have in our community, the more access they have, whether that be just through seeing it, knowing that it's there, or actual access because they can go in and purchase it and be under the age of 21. So I think this really does help create the parameters for you all to be able to set those guidelines, continue to increase accountability with the stores. And also, we have a meeting on March 23rd from 9 to 10 in the health department. If any of our stores want to come and join us, it is specifically around businesses. And so we actually talked about that this morning in our coalition meeting. Invite them to come and join us, be a part of that conversation as we continue to kind of see how we can help.
Great, great. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilman Quainer?
Yes.
Councilman Foster?
Nay.
No?
No.
Councilman Harrell?
Yes.
Councilman Gann?
Yes.
Councilwoman Manis?
Yes.
Mayor Burton?
Yes, ordinance number 703 passes on first of 2 readings. No other ordinances, no other resolutions. Any old business before us? Any new business?
I know we've had a lot of discussion about elections coming up with the commission running, and some people get confused on like what election is happening when and where, and we do have 3 elections this year, so that's fair. But ours is not until November, and so there has been a lot of discussion on who's running and who's not, and I just want to say I am glad to have served the community here in Clinton, and I feel like I've worked very hard, and I hope that that shows, and I plan to run for South Clinton again in Ward 3, and I thank you for trusting me.
And Mayor, I've been doing it for a long time, man. I've been doing it for 40 years, my service here at the city of Clinton. And, you know, I've served on the school board, and that's probably my greatest honor was to be on the school board. I really felt like I'd done more on the school board. I got to hire the best school superintendent in the state of Tennessee, and Kelly Johnson, and I make no bones about that. And that's my accomplishment there, to be able to have hired her. And she's a great spokesperson for the city of Clinton. And I'm going to seek re-election. I think it's way too early to announce myself. I hadn't intended on announcing, but I announced on my radio show Monday that I'd be seeking re-election, and I intend on asking for 4 more years, and then if you can't get it done in 8, go home, and that's what I intend on doing after, if I'm re-elected, go home.
Amen. Also, Brian Hatmaker is sick today, and he wanted me to pass along that he's enjoyed serving on city council, and he intends to run also in November. And I've already stated a couple of months ago that I'd like to run again too. You know, the purpose is always the same, is make Clinton as great as it can be. And guys, to be honest with you, I don't mean to sound cocky. I don't mean everybody else to sound cocky, but I think I speak for everybody. If we weren't doing a good job, we wouldn't be running again. And I think we're doing a fantastic job, and we'd just like to continue to do that. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Mayor, since y'all brought up elections, I do want to make a comment. Working with Building and Codes, and we had a discussion today. Matt Widener, the department head of that department's in Nashville with the leadership in Anderson County. Will be back Wednesday. We'll get together and get some literature out. We usually send it out. Like you said, everybody's kind of started a little early this year. Dealing with our sign ordinance. We have some issues now, and we want to give the candidates the opportunity to kind of correct them. So we'll be sending to later this week or next week some letters out to all the candidates and just let them know what our city sign ordinance is concerning political signs.
Could we look at an ordinance maybe to limit that to maybe 45 days out from an election, or 30 days, or is there some reason that we're not able to do that? Is there a reason we're not able to do that? And I see Bill Riggs is wanting to talk.
State law changed. We used to have a limit prior to state law change. We can't limit before. We can limit 7 days after they got to be removed.
Okay, that answers the
I
question.
wish we could.
I wish we could too. And can I ask JB a question? You care if I ask JB a question? JB, on the property that we got donated to us, we had a Recreation Advisory Board meeting, and you talked about some future stuff. Have we looked at any more grant? I'm sure you got some things in the pipeline.
We're working on the grant right now. April 1st is when we gotta have everything turned in. Got some ideas. I've shot it to Roger, shot it to Bill. We talked about some stuff, but budget-wise, I was talking to Dwayne today, we gotta do probably a parking lot, and then probably trail, and then add 3 disc golf holes to our other 6. So then it would make us, if you play them twice, 18 holes. I think we talked about doing a trail, but maybe the pavilion and some things like that down the road. I just gotta put figures together on
But
lighting.
you're working on some stuff on that?
Yes.
That's all I need
I
to
got a
hear.
map kinda made up.
Okay.
If you wanna see it, I got.
I might come by and look at one.
Yeah.
Well, and I had forgot about this, and mentioned, actually, prior to the next council meeting, we will have a, public
meeting.
input meeting,
We did it
prior
on-
to,
did it
for him,
before.
him to show us everything, then he has to have the Recreation Advisory Board meeting too. These are
of
grant
those we
requirements that
remember.
we have these 2 meetings. So he'll be doing a presentation next month.
Sounds good.
Looking forward to it.
Me too.
Any other new business?
Me too.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Means adjourn.